Founder of Something or Other Publishing, Wade Franson, is the host of Created in the Image of God, a series that examines the role of religion in society, from messianic returns to the emotive responses transmitted through our culture. Wade fearlessly addresses reality claims from all directions, objectively exploring their compatibility with Holy Scripture. Joining him is Daniel Sanderson, CEO of Planksive, an international philosophy and cultural media outlet, helping emerging thought leaders with personal branding by co-creating organic content. Episode 38, The Intersection of AI, Technology, and Religion, with Alex Kolodner.
Welcome to Created in the Image of God, where we bring on a unique guest each week to explore the role of religion in society. Tonight's guest is Alex Kolodner, and we'll be discussing the intersection of AI, technology, and religion. Alex will showcase the stunning advance of the applied artificial intelligence and how it is disrupting the way we view the world, interact with it, and manage our lives. Alex, we're so glad to have you here and to help us answer the questions. We're going to jump on a journey towards progress and prosperity, or do the risks outweigh the benefits? Are you up for that tonight?
I'm here for it.
All right. Okay. Well, Alex, I know that you live in Silver Springs. Why don't you explain where that is for everybody?
Yep. So if you look at the capital of the United States, and then you just drive 12 miles north by the crow flies, then you'll arrive in Silver Spring, Maryland. And so that's a pretty quick journey, but it's 45 minutes by the drive. And, if I'm about to head out to Nebraska, and 45 minutes in Nebraska is 75 miles, but 45 minutes in Silver Spring is 12 miles.
Oh, okay. Geolocated right in Maryland there. So, okay, perfect. A father of two.
Yep, that's right.
You have wonderful children and are happily married. And so the show notes say. Carolyn is her name.
Yep, that's right.
You have a background in technology and a passion for helping others. You currently work for a tech company specializing in addiction recovery and mental health. And in this role, you use predictive analytics to help treatment centers identify at-risk clients during the recovery process. When you're not working, Alex can be found in the kitchen, where he enjoys experimenting with new recipes and honing his culinary skills. Alex, I want to move into a part of the program where we like to delve into your past. So let me know about your background. Okay. I want you to start thinking about how you grew up in the formative years, your childhood, what your influences were, and that type of thing. Okay. Now, before I pass the mic over to you, I want to give a little, I want to go through a little housekeeping and some instructions and some for the viewers. So effectively, what we want you guys to do is get involved with the show. Put your questions into the chat. Let us know that you're out there. Post your comments or questions. And we're going to have a special segment at the end of the show where we're actually going to be looking at the best comment of the evening and we're going to be awarding a special prize. Okay. So hopefully that sounds good to everybody. And now Alex, back to this formative years question. Can you tell me where you were born and some of the highlights that make Alex, maybe in the first decade or so of your life?
I hear you. So I was born in Dallas, Texas, and then I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, which is a special community. Actually, if you know the name Edward Norton, who is a famous actor, he grew up in Columbia, Maryland. His grandfather actually was one of the founding fathers of the area. And it's a special community between Baltimore and Washington. And in particular, the Edward Norton's grandfather made sure that the community was constructed in such ways that everybody, no matter where they're coming from, would have to engage with their neighbor. And how he did that is, number one, each house was individually constructed, so it wasn't like a cookie cutter approach. Every house was unique. And then number two, that the mailboxes would be at the top of the street. And it's a small thing, it's a really, really minor thing, but it actually had a major effect where everybody would be forced to engage with their neighbor every time they got the mail. And otherwise, they would have to intentionally ignore their neighbor's habits in order to get in order to get the mail. And that was a minority of people. So it inevitably led to more neighbors getting to know each other, and more neighbors getting to engage with one another, which was the overall effect of the design. And then there was actually a secret third thing, which I didn't mention at the forefront, which was that in this same community, each neighborhood was specifically designed so that they could also walk to a supermarket. So it's all about being able to engage with your neighbors as well as physically get to a source of, essentially where your groceries are. So that's where I grew up. That is where a large part of my upbringing came from, and that is as I did grow up. That's something I kept in mind. The fact that here are people that are intentionally designing communities that are trying to be conscientious about their approach, and conscientious about their community, and that was something that still lives with me to this day.
Very nice, very nice. Very community centric. That's interesting. Yeah, I like the walkability. I actually do the same thing myself. I look for places that I can have a green space, and preferably if I can walk to a grocery store. That's really enjoyable thing to do. So I'm curious about how you ended up in the field of success that of like your career, and what was the mix of volition and happenstance that kind of got you to that mixture of interest and vocation?
A great question. So it happened to be the fact that my brother, who's a little bit older than I am, he's about 3 years older. Uh, and for those of you that have siblings, I'm sure you can relate to this. Uh, so for some folks, they either intentionally trying to be the same as their brother or sister, or they try and be the opposite. And I happen to be in the opposite category. So my brother was very interested in technology and engineering, and I tried to be the exact opposite, just as a matter of recourse. And so for those that is that have not read the show notes, I happen to be a Baha'i, and in the Baha'i faith, we have a year of service. It's a time where we as individuals essentially between high school and college, so it's not really well defined. We try and go to other areas in the world and be of service just for a year, just totally as you know we don't try and make any economic input there. We don't try and make money. We just try and be of total service to that area, wherever it may be. And during that time, I happened to be in a location where it was required of me to be the tech guy, and I did not want to be the tech guy. That did not flow with me at all. And unfortunately, that's the journey that was given. So from that opportunity, should I say, that led to having to fix computers and learn about hardware and electricity and ohms and amps and things like that. And that led into the far-flung journey of eventually leading to AI. And that's where we are today when we talk about, how does technology impact us? AI is coming. It is here. And I don't want to spoil any of the presentation I'm about to give from the past to the future, from the past being a couple of minutes ago or hours ago when I was younger. But it's so important that we as a society start to think about where we are when it comes to AI, and specifically where we are when it comes to how we as a society are going to take this tool and either incorporate it, or are we going to reject it?
That is so wonderful. I'm going to be a little playful now because this is my personality coming out. But for the people watching, we could actually say, is this a little special Turing test that's going on? Because I had a sequence of kind of moving the conversation forward, and I was going to go into AI, and then I was going to introduce the presentation that Alex has done. But maybe Alex is actually some sort of manifestation of a artificial general intelligence, because it just happened. You introduced AI, you wove it into the story, and then lo and behold, here we are. I'm just about to announce that there is a presentation. I'm very happy to present the fact that we've got Alex, who has put a presentation together for you. It's a real special treat to have that. So stay tuned for that. We're also at the end of that little segment of Alex's presentation. We're gonna be putting up a QR code, and the QR code is for. I'm not going to teach anybody how to do it. If you hear me say QR code, you understand what that is. Effectively, your phone is the capture device. You're able to take a photo effectively of this QR code, and it's going to serve up some information and take you to some really cool place. Okay. If that sounds like a lot of nonsense and you really don't know what I'm talking about, I would suggest just maybe consulting the younger generation, and they'll show you how to do it. Right. So stay tuned. And let's get into that presentation right now.
Artificial morality. The future of AI is rapidly changing, and with it, the future of humanity. How will we approach this transformative technology? Will we make ethical decisions that shape a bright future for all? Or will we be swayed by greed and self-interest? The world's great spiritual teachings offer a path forward, a way to use the tools we create for the betterment of humanity. They remind us that we are all created in the image of God, and that our technological advancements must reflect this spiritual reality. In Artificial Morality, Navigating the Ethics of AI with Spiritual Teachings, we present a vision of hope, where technology serves humanity and not the other way around. Join us as we explore this critical topic through stories of inspiration and hope. To submit your own tale of navigating the ethics of AI and become a part of this groundbreaking anthology, simply email us at info@supellc.com.
And hey everyone, and here is the QR code to submit to that anthology. As Daniel was mentioning, hold your phone up, use the camera, scan it. If you're interested in participating in this groundbreaking anthology, it will take you there and you can express your interest. The anthology will be a collection of contributions, both fiction and nonfiction, on the general topic. Now we're going to go into the actual presentation from Alex, which he has pre-recorded for us. It's going to be moving very quickly, and we may or may not pause it in the meantime. It's going to be about 20 minutes long. You're going to be fascinated. Here it is.
Hey, and thanks for joining this evening. We're going to get started by looking at technology and the future of religion. We're going to cover a lot of ground in about 20 minutes. So bear with me, and if you get lost, just watch the recording. So we're going to first take a look at one of my favorite quotes by Thomas Sowell. He says, "There are no solutions, there are only trade-offs, and you try to get the best trade-off you can, and that's all you can hope for." So as we go through this presentation this evening, keep this in mind because we're going to reference it a couple of times. So when we look at the tech that we're going to discuss tonight, obviously there's a lot of tech out there. We're not going to cover things like the eye contact from Anivia software that makes it so that you always look at the camera. We're not going to cover Runway machine learning, which is a movie creation software, or Barely AI, which helps to summarize long articles, or Crayon AI, which helps to create visual visualizations of what you described there, or Synthesia IO, which I actually personally use in my line of work, and I definitely give them a thumbs up. I like them. Where they create avatars which allow you to explain concepts or learning modules, but again, it uses an avatar. Or even generative AI using stock image AI, which creates logos and things of that nature super easily. What we are going to discuss, so put all that to the side. What we are going to discuss is ChatGPT, some image generators, and then a little bit of the music generators / audio generators. But we'll spend most of our time thinking about, where do all these fit in our world? So the first off, if you haven't heard about it already, ChatGPT-3 or Chat AI or an LLM was the more popular one, which is what on your screen right now, was created by a company back in 2015, OpenAI. Elon Musk was one of the co-founders, along with a host of other people. And it was designed in order to be open, hence the name. Elon Musk has since said on Twitter that it's not so open anymore. So there's some competitors that he's interested in that other people have launched, and it's very much a closed source at this time, primarily controlled by Microsoft. Now, the adoption of this tech was super rapid. You can see on the left-hand side, that straight vertical line, that was the adoption of ChatGPT to 1 million and then 100 million users. It was nearly overnight. It was super fast, especially compared to these other platforms like Netflix or Twitter or Instagram, which took longer. And it's super powerful. So if you're looking at it right now, if you haven't used it already, this is what it looks like. You just type in a prompt and it's going to spit out an amazing amount of content. And this is GPT-3 if you're watching this video a week from now. So if you're watching this sometime in March 20th or afterwards of 2023, you've got GPT-4, which is going to be well and up above GPT-3, even though GPT-3 is still well and above anything ever out there right now, with some exceptions. But basically, you type in a prompt, and so in this hilarious one, the prompt is to write a biblical verse in the style of King James Bible, explaining how to remove a peanut butter sandwich from a VCR. And as you can see, the prompt did super well, and it's just hilarious. So in addition to GPT-3, you've got some competitors. Microsoft's Bing, which is on their Edge platform, technically uses GPT-3, but it's got kind of a flavor to it. So think of it like, it's not just your regular sandwich. It's got a little bit of spice to it. That being said, so they're technically competitors, but they're really, Microsoft's really a major investor in OpenAI. So decide what you will. And it's also very powerful. So if you haven't had access to the beta already, go ahead and sign up and hopefully you'll get access. But otherwise, it was able to do things like generate a story, make sure you integrated Kurt Vonnegut's 12 rules of writing, recognize the 12 rules of writings don't exist. There's only 8, and then rewrite the story using just the 8 and explain how the 8 then apply to what it just had previously written. So super powerful. And again, because of time constraints, I'll make sure that we're going pretty fast here. But if you want to pause for a second, you can take a look at and actually read the content, read the actual text here on your screen. So in addition to actual, writing, it does a great job of code writing. It can write in HTML, Python, C, SQL, Java, a bunch of different languages, and it can also convert between languages. And so it's really useful, especially when coding, because it can also look at like, hey, you had an error right here, and then it'll correct it on the fly. And so we could spend all night talking about this tool. It's super powerful. Again, if you haven't checked it out already, definitely do so. You can sign up for free, but there is a paid version. And so in addition to the content creator, these LLMs, we also have image creations. So we've got DALL-E or DALL-E 2, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, which happens to be just my personal favorite, but next week, if you're watching this, there might be a better one out there. I might switch, change my mind. And then Playground AI as well. And how it works is you basically put in a prompt. So I had my 3-year-old, and I just said, what do you want to see? She said, I want to see a blue car. We generated it. And she said, that's not a blue car. She says it's blue, but it's not a car, because she's only 3. She doesn't recognize that this is like what cars used to look like. So how you prompt is super important when it comes to image generation. And there's a skill to that. As you can see, like a big shark in water, the second prompt on your right, that obviously did a lot better job getting what she was expecting, but it's still very, very simple prompt. And when you change one word, like I want a blue modern car, the content that's created is also going to be different. So here's the example of a blue modern car, though obviously they look very high-end and futuristic. So the image content gets kind of dicey because you've got this example here where it translates in English to Space Opera Theater, which is generated by Jason Allen just last year. So it won a competition and people didn't know that it was AI generated. If it looks bad on your screen, just Google Space Opera Theater, Jason Allen, and you'll get a much higher end version. I think it's just how you're seeing it right here. But yeah, this is a beautiful image, and he won an award. He won $300, and then he came out that it was AI generated, and people got kind of upset that they said, "Oh, he didn't deserve to win that award." But he also was the one that generated the prompt. So you tell me. Just to give you guys a quiz, here's 2 images. I'm gonna pause for 5 seconds, and you tell me which one is real and which one is AI generated. Or don't tell me, just decide. Okay, they're both AI generated. Same thing. All right, the one on the left is real. Pretty cool. And next week, when the next update of Midjourney is announced or released to the public, this is only going to get sharper. It's only going to get way, way better. So you can see the image content is just super powerful. And then we have music and audio generators. So I'm not going to play the clip, but you can search this one. If you just search 11 Labs, 11 like the number, 11 Labs, Leonardo DiCaprio, you'll see his speech at the UN, and then it's layered on multiple famous people that are speaking over him. And it uses just with a 30-second clip, that's all you need. And then you can make any video in the world sound like that person. So I've been speaking for more than 30 minutes or 30 seconds. So you could just take this clip and instantly transform it into something that you can actually copy my voice. Whoops, here we go. So now let's talk about the religion aspect of this. So I come from the Baha'i faith, and one of the leaders of the Baha'i faith, he wrote many years ago, he said, we believe in balance in all things, and we believe in moderation in all things, and we must not be too emotional, nor cut and dried and lacking in feeling. We must not be so liberal as to cease to preserve the character and unity of our Baha'i system, nor fanatical and dogmatic. And so what I take away from there is that as we look to the Baha'i view, specifically the Baha'i view on technology, it's that technology is there for us, technology and knowledge is there for us. It's there for our betterment, and so these are things that we should look to adopt. We shouldn't just shun them, right out of the gate. And this is not strictly, when we broaden the idea of science and technology to knowledge as a whole, because they kind of one necessitates the other. It's not exclusive to the Baha'i faith. So, we see in Islam where it's read, the search for knowledge is an obligation laid on every Muslim. And of course, this is from the Hadith. So it's not technically from the Quran, but, it has some weight to it nonetheless. Or if we look to the Hindu faith, where it's written, it rests on knowledge, the self, the world is produced by knowledge, the self, and knowledge is its cause, knowledge is Brahman. So coming with knowledge and science is also kind of the double edge to that sword, which is that it also can be a source of really great pain and sorrow and extreme loneliness. So here on your screen right now is a chart of major depressive episodes in the last 12 months, just from 2005 to 2017. And you can see that the purple line all the way at the top is teen girls. I've got 2 daughters. This is something that I'm definitely watching and definitely, following and tracking, so that as they get older, that's not something that, I can help them to fend off against such instances. And just to highlight a couple major events that may have occurred that helped, my theory here, helped aid this depressive episode is, here you have your first smartphone, the iPhone released, and you have Instagram, you have Facebook hitting 1 billion users. So major force there, as well as TikTok being released. And then if we look at global antidepressant use, look all the way at the bottom, that's the United States, the biggest one, next to Iceland, Australia, Canada, and Denmark. But still we're well ahead above all of them. So clearly something's going on, whether it be a mixture, and with all things, there's always going to be a blend. I always think about it in cooking terms, there's always multiple spices in the dish. But sometimes one spice stands out among the rest. And I'm not alone here. So the current administration, the U.S. Surgeon General, has called out the fact that preteens really shouldn't be on social media. He specifically stated that, how can a developing mind compete against the addictive algorithms created by some of the smartest minds in the globe today? So this isn't AI specific, but it's just in the global, the umbrella of technology. And as we look at AI, I do put it under that same umbrella of thinking about, like, how do we apply this to today's world? As we do think about how teens and preteens work with technology and AI, I do see it as the classic David and Goliath moment, except in this one, Goliath wins every single time, because there's no competition there. And then if you want to look at a little bit more recent results, this is a very recently published study in which U.S. teen girls basically experience increased sadness and violence, and 57% of teen girls expressed feelings of persistent sadness or hopelessness in 2021. And so that's, basically 3 in 5 teen girls experienced that in 2021, and it only gets worse. So since then, we've decreased social engagement because of the pandemic and a number of other things. And we've tried to supplement that in-person engagement with things like Zoom or Skype or Discord, etc. But ultimately, we've seemed to left these guys behind. And you could imagine it's not really that hard to imagine why this is true. So here you have a recently released TikTok filter. This is a beautiful woman anyway. Nothing against her, but you can obviously see on the left-hand side there's a filter applied to her in which parts of her, her makeup is accented, her lips are made larger, her skin is softened, her eyes are brightened, and her hair is kind of golden up a little bit in order to make her more attractive. And this is a prominent filter on TikTok right now. I'm not on TikTok for other reasons, but this is something that's going around the social media side where it's clear that this is an unrealistic beauty standard. You can understand why preteens and teens are now having to reconcile with how they view themselves, with how the world is being presented to them. And most importantly there, it's literally erasing what people see as real and instead presenting this augmented version of yourself as your true self. So it's no secret, like if you look on your left-hand side here, this.
So Alex, I got to ask, are you using the TikTok beauty filter right now?
Gosh, if I was, I would look like 10 times more beautiful. You would not recognize me in my current form.
So I had to pause it right there. We'll get back and wrap up that presentation later because I know you get into a couple of really, really salient points. But I couldn't resist jumping in on the TikTok issue and the teenage daughter issue because I have a 14-year-old daughter. And TikTok is an issue in our house. So first, before I get into that, for other reasons, you're not on TikTok for other reasons. Pray tell, what are those other reasons?
So without getting into the dirty of it, TikTok is an app that absolutely, beyond the casual should I say, like, discovery part of it, TikTok is listening to everything that you do and tracking everything that you press. And so that's not a good thing from a security standpoint. That's like my second background here was in security as it relates to mortgage-backed securities. And so, as we think about TikTok tracking everything that you are pressing literally on your phone, it's doing that. And it's just not a good it's not a good app to have on your phone if you're gonna think about having any sort of security on your mobile device. So I didn't want to get into that in the
And of course I did. So,
presentation. Yeah, obviously you brought it up.
and
And
our
it's there.
audience,
It's there.
you
Yeah.
and our audience may or may not be aware. Most people are aware that TikTok was developed in China. It's a Chinese app. It's owned by a Chinese company.
Yep.
So in theory, they have access to that information, which for the tinfoil hat people is of serious concern. And perhaps for some people who don't wear tinfoil hats. In addition, what many may not know is that there's a different version of TikTok that's allowed in China. And that version of TikTok does not allow the kinds of videos that are allowed in the West. The version of TikTok that's available in China serves up educational, science-based, reading-based content. And I believe there's also some kind of limit to where children in China can only be on it for X amount of time, and all of the content that is available to those in the West are just not available.
True. Everything about what you're saying is true.
Right. So in our family, we recently went through a phase where, and I have allowed my daughter to have TikTok after a certain age. And then we recently took away TikTok for an extended period of time. And we have, I believe, recently allowed it back. But it's being debated now at the levels of government. This plays into a comment by A.M. Sterling that it may be banned here in the US. So on that graph of teenage depression and even suicide, I don't think there's a lack of correlation to some of those pointers that you put in on the graph as to when things spiked in terms of sadness. Obviously, you could put many things in there to correlate, but I would think there is indeed some validity to what you put in there. Did you do any research on that further, or was that just randomly picked, those inflection points?
Of course, I could say that, yeah, let's just randomly pick dates and let's just associate them.
I know that the dates, the associated dates were accurate, but did you do research in terms of backing up why you chose that versus, the election or versus?
Yeah. So the absolute hardest thing, and as you actually investigate the adoption of social media, is as you look to the it's not so much as the proliferation of like when the social media hit like 1 million users, it's when they hit like 100 million users, and that's also not something that's really it's not something that's like well documented, because it's not as you look to these different platforms, whether it be TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, it doesn't matter. Twitter, doesn't matter. It's not so much when they were released, it's when they hit like full penetration of the society. And the only thing that we start to see is when we start to see major upticks in depressive episodes. And that is when we start, as you can see from the chart a couple slides ago, like that's when we start to see major depressive episodes, when there's a mass adoption of the application or the app, if you want to use the slang, the app or the, the device. So it's really something that, as we look to the long term, we should really be focused on how it's not when it was released, it's when there's a mass adoption of the technology that we should look to the long-term problem, whether it be 1 year or 2 years or 3 years out.
when it when it becomes pervasive and
Yeah,
prevailing.
exactly.
The wind blows more strongly. So we're going to cut to a commercial break from one of our sponsors, Something or Other Publishing, who, by the way, for those who are posting comments, thank you. You can also post questions. And Something or Other Publishing is going to give away a special gift at the end to whichever comment Alex chooses as his favorite comment or question later on. When we come back, we'll finish the presentation from Alex and we'll get into an even deeper topic. Stay tuned.
And welcome to Something or Other Publishing, or as our friends like to call us, Soup. Soup is a platform that connects authors, readers, and service providers in one convenient place. Choose Soup if you're an author with a great book idea and you're looking for a publisher offering hands-on coaching and some of the best royalties in the business. Or if you're a reader who enjoys engaging with celebrated and emerging authors. We already have over 3,000 of them, and more are joining every day. You can even win free books by voting on their book ideas. Or maybe you're a service provider and you're looking to engage with over 3,000 authors. We're here to help. So whether you're an author, a reader, or a service provider, you're in the right place at Soup. Contact us at help@soupllc.com to learn more.
What we thought technology could replace what's on your right-hand side. And, I don't think anybody has any argument to say that one is, the left, this Zoom call, even though it's awesome and we're great and it's here that, it's great that virtually we're able to connect, but it doesn't replace that in-person, real-world, touching the grass connection. I should mention here, every image that you see without it being directly stated is AI generated. So what about the LLMs? So my personal belief is that it's not the tool that's wrong. It's not the LLM that's wrong. It's how we're using the tool. So just like a cup has no inherent right or wrongness to it, but as my 3-year-old, recently 2 years old, there's a lot of spilled cups, and so it was bad application of the tool. It was someone using the tool wrong, thinking that water will stay in the cup even if you turn it upside down. And I think of this in cooking terms. I love to cook. It's my 6th passion in life, behind a couple other things. And when I was younger, though, I loved TV dinners. I thought it was awesome. You stick it in the microwave. You put the microwave on. You get food out. It was tasty. It was awesome. I'd go to my friend's house on Friday, and we'd have a sleepover, and we'd have TV dinners. And then in college, I learned to cook, and I tried a TV dinner back in college, and I realized, wow, this is crap. This is tasteless, oversalted, bland, lacking flavor. I could go on, but I realized it's not good for me. It's got high sodium, it's got a whole host of other things, and it's just bad food. And I so apologize if any of you are watching this and watching a TV dinner right now. So the point that I'm getting at, though, is just because we can create TV dinners and we can heat food in the microwave doesn't necessarily mean we should every time. It's good for reheating food, but should we necessarily cook all of our food in the microwave? No. But it's not the microwave's fault. It's just how we're using it. And so from there, I want to look at some of the downsides. So obviously, job loss. That's a huge thing when it comes to AI, because businesses can automate a substantial portion of their daily tasks, daily or weekly tasks. And so that's going to negate the need for those people to engage in those tasks. We are already seeing that with the technology in general, but we're just going to put the pedal to the metal on this one when it comes to AI. But the two that I want to focus on is superseding the source of truth to AI-only sources, which basically means, well, if the AI says that it is true, then I believe that. And the second is that failing to develop our own skills. So we're no longer saying, okay, well, I need to develop my own skills in order to accomplish A or task A. Instead, I'm just going to let AI do it, and then I fail to actually develop that skill in the long term. So one example of that is right here for the failure to superseding the truth to AI, in which for the purpose of brevity, I'm just going to include one particularly innocuous example, but there's a ton of examples out there. A lot of them way more controversial, but I think we can get behind this one altogether. So in short, on your screen right now is a transcript of a conversation with David Wilkinson, who's the editor of the Oxford Review, in which ChatGPT made up a source. And David found it in one of his students' papers, and he didn't recognize this source, and he said, "Oh, this is kind of weird." And so he was searching around, he was searching Google Scholars, he was searching JSTOR, he couldn't find it. And so he went to ChatGPT to figure out if it had created the source, and sure enough, it recreated that exact same source again. And so that's obviously problematic if you have an AI module creating what appears to be a synthetic source. It's a made up source. But to the average individual, if you're not looking for it, you wouldn't know it was there. And that's really obviously very dangerous when we have an AI module creating truth. And in particular, I kind of use truth with a capital T because the question is, well, what happens if AI becomes the source of truth? So instead of having religion and God and spirituality be true truth, the one truth, and then everything else is kind of a derivative of that, if we say, well, AI can develop that, AI can teach us what we need to know, then we're kind of superseding that main root. We're taking the trunk of the tree and we're just saying, you're going over here right now. And we're a totally different organism from there on out. And there's really no pathway that's never been done before. And in the Baha'i faith, truthfulness is especially important. I know it's important in every religion. There's tons of quotes out there about the importance of truth. I think we can all get behind this particular one where it says, truthfulness is the foundation of all the virtues of the world of humanity. And without truthfulness, progress and success in all the worlds of God are impossible for a soul. So a little bit of background there that the Baha'is do believe that there's an afterlife, just like many other religions. And so, the foundation of being able to ascertain those virtues and grow closer to God is tied to being true to ourselves and being true to God. And so part of that as well is, as we do look to the impact of, or the scenario in which religion across America is declining. So we already see the elimination or the foundation of truth being eroded. And when something is, removed, it has to be replaced. There's a void that's created. And we just need to make sure, and the point that I really want to get across is that as we look to the adoption of AI, which is absolutely 100% coming our way, it's going to come into your life. If you live for the next, 6 or 7 days, AI is going to be in every part of your life if it's not already. And we just need to make sure that it doesn't replace the foundation, that true truth, that truth all caps that we've already established. Another major danger there is that, that third point that I said, that where we use it as a crutch. So this predates AI, and my guess is that it's only going to get worse, is that we use technology as a crutch, and that doesn't necessarily benefit us in the long run. So the General Social Survey, or GSS, is a long-standing survey done on Americans over the age of 18. And they found that despite an increase in education, our vocabulary hasn't improved. And that's just one element of how do you measure knowledge, or how do you measure things that people know, and vocabulary being one of them. And over the last literally 50 years, they really haven't seen much improvement, though they've seen a massive improvement in education. So all in all, sometimes more tech is not always good. I always think back to the Amish. I'm not just in terms of time, I'm not going to play this video, but if you do search Amish raising a barn in a day, they raise this whole barn in a day. It's an amazing feat. And obviously they haven't adopted, if you don't know anything about the Amish community, they have some tech, but not the technology. They wouldn't be joining this call right now. But also on the flip side, their rates of depression are less than 1% from a recent observational study done just a few years ago. So there's a lot to be said about, sometimes we need to have a balance between the adoption of tech, but also the rejection of, just totally losing ourselves to cyberspace. So just as a reminder, we from the Baha'i faith, we believe in a balance in all things, a moderation in all things. And I'm sure that many religions out there adopt that same principle, as it's very universal. So where AI can be helpful is that it gets you most of the way, some of the time. So for example, it does a great job of generating a quick introduction to the Baha'i faith. That's a new word for a lot of people. So a lot of times people say, what is the Baha'i? Here you go. Additionally, it does a great job of addressing some of the biblical prophecies, explaining why Christ is the fulfillment of these biblical prophecies. And it does great job of doing some basic introductions to how Muhammad is also the fulfillment of biblical prophecies if you're coming to us from Islamic background. But these are just the basics. It is an incredibly powerful tool. It is coming our way. I personally use it every single day in my day-to-day job. I use it in my personal life, helping to find new recipes from worldwide sources. I use it in my professional life to help with my writing. I use it in my professional life to help with my data analytics and my SQL queries. And it just does it's a phenomenal tool to say, hey, I need a second view of something. Can you help me? So let's wrap up here. Just as a recap, as we think about the introduction of tools, this is a reminder that the knowledge from the Baha'i perspective, we believe that the knowledge of such sciences, however, should be acquired as can profit the peoples of the earth and not those which begin with words and end with words. So this is an incredibly and powerful tool. It's going to advance the knowledge of humanity many times over, but we just need to make sure that it's targeted, it's focused, and it's not something where, it's just like gears of a car where if they're not engaged, the car is not moving forward. And I'd also remind you to keep my favorite quote in mind. There are no solutions, there are only trade-offs, and you try to get the best trade-off you can. That's all you can hope for, you can get. So as we think about using this tool and incorporating it in our daily life, there's going to be trade-offs that we all have to make. And we just want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can with the best intentions behind them. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for racing through that. We've still got a little time left. And as we sometimes do, we may go a little over time if you're willing to stay here. So in terms of the trade-off, I want to first pose a few questions to you just to get a sense of where you're at, because you've obviously studied into this. You're obviously passionate about it. You use it daily. You've also thought about it a lot in terms of where it's going. So, and I know that as a Baha'i, you believe in something called progressive revelation. And so things move forward and there's a divine input that leads humanity forwards in the direction that it ultimately needs to go. Maybe it's a bit like a sailboat in the wind. You can't go straight towards it. You have to tack to the left and tack to the right to go against the headwinds, but nonetheless, progress is made. So your assessment, the Baha'i faith was founded in the mid-18th century. The Enlightenment was happening, and technological advancement has happened since then. So the impact of science and technology on civilization. Alex Kolodner's personal view, forget that you're a Baha'i, but obviously that's an influence. Your personal view, 1900, turn of the century, was science and technology assisting us on a scale of 1 to 10, positive versus negative. And remember Shelley's Frankenstein, right? The Frankenstein monster, the monster that was created in the age of technology, where we could envision science being a destructive force and the mad scientist creating something that would go out and pillage and destroy.
Wait a minute, Wade. Are you leading the witness here?
Yeah. Also,
that's the context. I'd like to get Alex's personal perspective on this.
Yeah.
So first of all, for those that do not know, Wade is currently fasting, and that is why he is experiencing an astronomical dryness of being, where he cannot experience anything else but having a dryness. And that's the Baha'i approach. Unfortunately, that is what Baha'is experience for the next 9 days.
It's only a week left, Alex.
7 days. All
We'll
right.
get through it.
We'll get through it. So to get to your main argument, could I
it's not an argument, it's a question. I'm asking you, in your assessment, in the year 1900, was there a net plus where this is going, just so you know where this is going, I'm going to ask you about 1950. I'm going to ask you about 2000. I'm going to ask you about the modern day 2023. The arc of technology benefiting humanity. Where I'm going with this series of questions is, to put it more succinctly, if you graph it, the benefit, society being benefited from technology. Moore's law, for example, in the Intel chip, right? But I'm not really addressing that specifically, but rather the impact as a whole. Has the Frankenstein monster emerged, or are we still on a positive track, is where I'm going with this question. Because AI being the latest and greatest new technology, right? I'm a avid reader of Scientific American. I've been reading it for 20 years now. Love it. Read every issue. Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, everyone was glowing and positive about science and technology, how it's going to transform the world, create a world of leisure. Has technology's dark side emerged at this stage in the advancement of science and technology?
All right.
And while you answer that, I'm going to go grab a glass of water.
Yeah, all good. All right. So first of all, let me pause and say that all of these laws are succinct, or they are, with the umbrella of religious laws. The laws that we create are sub laws. They are laws that we put under the umbrella of major laws. So like if we have a major law, then there's a minor law, and the minor law is obviously succinct. It is subjugated to the major law. So let me back up a little bit here, and let me have you put your question into a single sentence. And so if you could, obviously you're getting your glass of water there after fasting all day. Could I have you put your question into a single sentence, and then from there we will we'll engage.
As you survey technology's service to humanity, is humanity getting out over its skis? Is technology accelerating to the point where it's reaching the point of being more of a deficit than a benefit?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, I think I presented in my talk, we are about to get to an age in which AI is about to be incredibly above anything we've ever experienced in all of humanity. It's about to be,
Well, it's been that it's been that way since the dawn of enlightenment. You can graph the rise of technology.
Yeah, but
for
this
the
is
last
different.
150 years.
This is different.
But it's the hockey stick, right? It's the hockey stick. And at some point, humanity's, and this has been written about for decades, right? Is technology accelerating beyond our capacity to adapt and adopt to the change? And really, in the key question that I'm driving at here, since we're short circuiting this and going for the jugular on this,
the answer is yes.
Are we losing our moral compass? To where it's not just about, people are dying in car crashes because, we built a vehicle that could accelerate us down the road and we hadn't thought about seatbelts, right? I'm not just talking about that aspect of technology advancement. I'm talking about getting to the core of we're losing our moral compass. When, as you presented, AI is beginning to fabricate sources. And in the meantime, in greater society, we're beginning to rewrite books with a new language that's adopted to the ethics that we're developing. And in this swirl of change,
that's it.
We're losing our way.
That's it.
Okay, comment on that, because I don't want it to just be me. I want to hear it from you.
No, I mean, that's me and you. I mean, that's we are about to reach the point where it's not about have you asked the right question. It's you asked the question, but you got an answer that was not the answer that you were expecting. I mean, what I mean by that is you asked, is 2 plus 2, does that equal 4? And you got an answer where that equals 5. And you got a journal that was peer reviewed. You got the Harvard Business Review. You got an answer in which somebody from an intellectual society said that no, 2 plus 2 equals 5. And here is my backup. Here's my journal that says 2 plus 2 equals 5. And the problem there is now you've diluted truth. You've all of a sudden you've said 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. 2 plus 2 equals 5. And here is my truth. And that's where, to my earlier conversation, that we've diluted the instrument of truth. We've diluted the word truth.
You leave him speechless, right? I mean, he wants to speak.
I'm getting you.
Yeah.
So I put I put something in the chat because this show is, after all, created in the image of God. I'll show it now on the screen. It's from the Bible. Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you a king?" And Jesus said, "You say rightly that I'm a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should." And sorry, the little chat limit is like Twitter. Limit your characters. So let's now show this one. "For this cause I was brought into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice." And students of the Bible now know the famous response of Pilate. Quiz for Daniel. Daniel, to your son's credit, your son would know this quote, Daniel. Do you know what Pilate answered? You must know it as a philosopher.
Well, no, I don't. I don't know what his answer is, but
here's his answer.
Yeah.
Why? That's a hard question to ask on a Tuesday evening.
What is truth? This is Pilate's answer to Jesus is, what is truth? Good Socratic method guy. He answers, he answers with a question, right? What is truth? So we are getting to the point where truth is being fabricated and the lie is becoming so pervasive, right? It's being cemented with fabricated sources. And with AI, artificial reality can be created just as quickly as you can have that artificial intelligence write that artificial reality. And it gets written into the fabric of society. And the technology that we are receiving is enabling some of the mental illnesses that are being, such as gender dysphoria, that are now being mandated as being declared to not be mental illness, such that those who are not suffering from that mental illness must go along with the illness, as in Jack Nicholson, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? So when reality gets distorted, when books are being rewritten with new language and published, I'll just read a quick quote here from a recent article by Elizabeth Grace Matthew at the Hill, called Cultural Critic, in their Cultural Critic section, "Sanitizing Books is Dystopian." She wrote that posthumous woke rewrites are worse than banning the books, because people know that a book's been banned. It becomes the forbidden fruit, while the sanitation process leaves you thinking you've read a work when you've only read an imposter. That insidious lie, in effect, erases a given work from history, which is far more sinister than simply hiding that work from view. What is hidden, what will eventually be found. What is erased is lost forever. And the lie supplants the truth completely and totally because it's been rewritten. It takes a flimsy intellect hell-bent on the creation of a monistic utopia to think we can retain the essence of a written work while altering its language. It is not just stupidly illiberal, it is creepily dystopian, right? So I take that as a data point, as an instance of the pervasive ability of artificial reality, the metaverse, to begin to enable the in Baha'i terms, idle fancies and vain imaginations to become reality for millions of people.
Yeah.
I just have to throw my hands up and go,
Please do.
Who invited me to this party? Because
Come on, Daniel. Come on, bring it.
Okay, no, but I always try, I write a lot in my blog, this word called responsion, and it was a Heideggerian term, but I'm going to apply it more to a religious context from a secular standpoint. I'm going to try and bridge something between myself and my religious friends here, okay? Now, so I'm going to say that within this fear that you both are feeling, that God can be found within AI. Okay. Now, also, because you brought up two themes. You brought up AI, and then you also brought up the lies that were being spouted through gender dysphoria, right? And
But
so
wait,
these are. Just wait, and I'll pass
sorry.
it off, okay? Because it'll be. So these are two separate things. Okay, so you're two non-truths the way you're presenting them in today's show, and so my issue is that the broad, all-encompassing generalization, right? And I'm saying that within both of those two broad categories, I'm saying that God is found and can be found within those two categories. So to summarily dismiss them is anti-godly. that's not a word, but that's my point to my two friends here.
So so you're saying God can be found within blank. Can you fill in that blank?
Artificial intelligence and the topic of and the gender conversation. I don't know how to correctly
give us an example of how God can be found in artificial intelligence, because it seems like a non-sequitur to me.
That's
yeah.
This is a fun.
Give me an instance. Give me an example.
We're game. I mean, this is where we want to go.
Right. So, I mean, I want to acknowledge one of Ralph's comments. Right. So Ralph is in the chat, and he said, when I joined the Baha'i faith X number of years ago, they thought barcodes were Satan's manifestation of the Antichrist and blah 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 blah. So
I don't know that he's saying that Baha'is thought that. I think he's saying that was a religious thought. FYI, because
just to separate that between the individual versus here's the religion actually thinking that.
Yeah, see, the Baha'is are really careful at, I think, really thinking before they speak, right? I mean, not just you two, but also as a whole, I think as the religious sort of with
some exceptions like myself, I never think before I speak.
Right, okay.
No, wait,
I'm
really
not yet typical Baha'i.
But my point is that I think there's a
0 to 100,
a bit of a
0. Yeah.
A bias between people who are in an older generation that say, well, you know what, this book reading, we should be working in the fields. What is all this reading of books business? We're going to have a world of people just reading all the time. We have temples to build, this is the whole, this brings us back to Prometheus, and Zeus, and there's an overarching rule, like Alex had actually brought up. He's like, there is an overarching rule. Why was Zeus
keep going? You got it, man.
Why was he upset? Well, why did he pin him to the to the rocks and have the bird peck out his liver every day? Because it's this irony that is actually teaching us something. We're living with technology. Technology is a part of the human condition. This is how we adapt, is to learn and grow through technology. This is what we've been given. So it's up to us to find that light of God in your speak, to make it something, to liberate it, to bring it, to free it, to see it and transform it for our own purpose.
Well, God can be found when you're hanging upside down in a well, being held up by the rope tied around your foot in the darkest place with your head an inch above water. God can be found in that moment too. So I'm still looking for an example of what you mean when you say God can be found in artificial intelligence. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It's just I want to know where you're coming from. I don't understand it.
Because
right there.
What I hear from you guys is that it feels like there's a book burning kind of going on here. It's like we
no,
so there's not.
We're against the burning of books, right?
I read every book.
You're taking it literally.
But
you're taking it literally. I feel like there's the precipice. There is like the beginning of, we need to move in the direction of the Amish building the houses, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Like,
you got to admit, you got to admit, the Amish, they have excellent houses.
Yeah,
we have an Amish kitchen table in our living room. It cost us $6,000.
And their chickens are amazing, right? I mean, they're poultry, and they're great. They're great people. Yeah.
But all seriousness, to your point, Daniel.
Sorry. Oh, you want me to keep going?
I apologize. I apologize for interrupting.
No, I'm lobbing it back to you guys again, and I'm saying it feels like there's like an anti-progress sort of thing, and I'm trying to delineate the difference between how do we slow down and how do we not raise pitchforks against technology and thinking that it's evil in and of itself.
Surely you're familiar with the discussion in the literature over the last 30, 40, 50 years about the need for ethics to keep pace with technological advancements.
Yes.
That's what I'm referring to.
And that's why I think that our friend, Mr. Gilbert Hakim, is trying to hit that head on, right? By confronting it. And we want the people who pride themselves, in the groups who pride themselves as being leaders in the ethical realm. And that could be religious folk. I'm not saying it is per se, but I'm saying,
well, that's a really great comment, because I realize this has been great, but we've got to play an ad from our sponsor real quick. And guess who that sponsor is? Well, it's one of the developers of Ocean 2.0. So what a great segue. Let's cut to that, and then we'll be back.
Discover the world's religious traditions like never before with Ocean 2.0 Reader. Our custom ebook reader is designed for exploration and study, with an immersive audio-integrated reading experience and powerful research tools. Available on all platforms including web, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iOS. Experience the benefits of immersive reading by combining ear and eye, and improve comprehension and vocabulary acquisition, and with our interfaith library featuring books from Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Jainism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism, Christianity, Islam, and Baha'i. You'll have access to a wealth of knowledge. Try Ocean 2.0 Reader today and elevate your reading experience.
Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled.
Yeah, great comment. Thank you for bringing that up, Dan. Do you want to comment on it?
Yeah, this is Ty Keynes. I actually do another show with him. He's a really great guy, a really good friend of mine. I'd say this is a really good comment. I wonder if human ethics is good enough to cope with all the great advances in technology. And so what do you guys think of that? Do we have the moral compass or ability to even derive the morality to do this?
Well,
we need to do.
I'll throw a quick comment out there, and then would love to hear what you have to say, Alex. My comment is that with, to quote Spider-Man, right? Or actually Stan Lee, the creator of Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So technology information is power, technology is power, right? As a teenager, there's no greater feeling than getting your driver's license and getting a teenage boy in particular. At least teenage boy of past generations. I understand many teenage boys today aren't interested in getting in a car. They just want to sit in their basement and experience the virtual power that they have. But it used to be that you wanted to get behind that wheel and you could on your own get from where you needed to go. You could speed down the highway at an enormous speed. You could also crash your car and kill people, right?
All right.
And
Pause.
Yep.
That is if anybody has not read if anybody has not taken the moment to read the books that are currently presentable to to our phenomenal speaker here, then you should take a moment to look at those books, and you'll understand where the reference is coming from.
Well, and Alex, you'll get a chance to give one of those books. We'll play an ad for my book here before we close, and that's the special gift today. The publisher's giving away a copy of my first book to people with a sign. Center point of that was a high-speed chase up in Alaska, of which I was the subject as a 19-year-old. But my point is, technology is enabling power, national power, global power for those who wield it and who control it, right? And so the connection, Dan, between what I was saying about the rewriting of certain books, and largely the rewriting is around identity issues, right? Racial issues, gender issues. The terms for male and female are being erased from literature that was written decades ago. And I bring in the transgender issue because the idea that our biological gender is not determinate, or our biology is not determinate, and that children are being led to question that in such a way that trusted advisors are encouraging them to question it, and then letting them believe that it is fungible, that they can change their biological nature. These two things are of a kind, right? Erasing the language, the programming that we have in our head around gender identity, and then having children question that reality, right? This is just but one of the ways in which reality is being distorted and changed today on a massive scale. That's my point. And human ethics, no, is not good enough to cope with this because egregious crimes against humanity have been committed in recent years. And the government authorities are seeking to further the narrative that all this is acceptable, that all this is good, that all this is decent, that all this is right. Daniel, that's what I'm kind of getting at here.
Yeah. But
in answer to Ty's question, no, I don't think human ethics is good enough to cope with these advances, because that quote about power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is what we're experiencing. This is what we're challenging with, and we're rushing headlong towards a cliff, in my opinion. You're probably on mute there, Dan. And I think we need to slow down. I think we need to slow it down.
I've actually said that for a long time, actually. I say that, things are moving so quickly, right? As people have heard from me on many, many shows, we'll just say I'm a climate change guy, right? Okay. So this is progress on acceleration, right? We'll just leave it with, we'll leave it at that. I don't know if you guys know, but we have a special guest in the studio right now. Socrates decided to join us.
Shall we bring him in?
with artificial intelligence. Yeah, go ahead, bring them in, Wade. I'd love to hear what Socrates would have to say.
Is like medicine. Medicine has to define the nature of the body, and rhetoric of the soul.
All right.
If we would proceed, not empirically, but scientifically, in the one case to
That's
impart
because you're
health
going to
and
bring my
strength by
friend in.
giving medicine and food, in the other to implant the conviction or virtue which you desire by the right application of words and training.
Wonderful. Resurrected magically.
That's everlasting life. He never imagined his everlasting life would be reincarnated through through this.
Well, and Alex,
Through this
you gave this great example about the cup, right? And your 3-year-old daughter spilling it over. I would submit science is in its infancy. Human ethics, though we've been working on that for centuries, it's being challenged, it's being tested. Baha'is would say we are reaching the age of maturity, right? Adolescence come maturity. And we're being challenged. We're being challenged as a species. We're being challenged as individuals. And it's a challenge that, as we've seen throughout history, 2 steps forward, 1 step back with humanity. And we may be out over our skis right now in a number of ways.
There you go. I don't think, personally, I think that every religion is about to.
Yeah. So you had a great quote in your presentation earlier about truthfulness being the foundation of all virtues. And I'd like to, since we're going to play the last ad here, and then you're going to be selecting one of these quotes to give away a copy of my book, I'd like to share, one of the understandings that I have gained from my lifelong study of the Bible. So for students of the Bible, you may recall the creation story, which, by the way, created in the image of God, is a reference directly to that God created us in his image and that he created us male and female. It literally says that in the very earliest writings, the creation story, he created us distinctly male and female, and we were equal before God. The man and the woman were sovereign on the earth. Everything that was created on this earth was put under human beings. They were sovereign, equally sovereign, the man and the woman before God. And God gave them a choice in the Garden of Eden to follow his guidance, the tree of life, or to take upon themselves the opportunity to research and learn the difference between good and evil, which is, I like to just call it simply the school of hard knocks. Well, we chose the school of hard knocks rather than the easy way of being the good, obedient student and just going and believing what we were taught without questioning it. Dan, you'll probably like this part. Basically, God set us up to question him, right? To find it out for ourselves. And so the serpent, which was obviously also created by God, came in with the big lie and tested us and said, did God tell you that that if you eat that tree, you're going to die? He's lying to you. He knows that when you eat that tree, you will become like him, knowing good and evil. Well, there was actually some truth to that, right? But the serpent was encouraging us to go the hard way, to learn it the hard way. And in fact, that is the way that was necessary. We had to learn it the hard way. There was no other way. Now, this is all going somewhere, so stick with me. So the serpent can whisper, can influence. The big lie that the serpent actually told wasn't that by eating the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, we could become like God. It was the implication that we were not already like God because we were created in his image. So God already created us in his image. And the lie was that we needed to go do something else in order to become that. Well, we already had it. We already were children of God.
As per your requirement here.
So now, fast forward to the book of Revelation, and you have something called the dragon, right? The dragon is when large numbers of people listen to the lie of the serpent, and they follow the path of the serpent, and they give political power to the ideas of the serpent. The dragon wields not just the ability to influence, but it wields the ability to wreak havoc and to destroy. And so the prevalence of the lie, the spread of the lie, to where the lie becomes so dominant that it becomes increasingly difficult to discover the truth, right? That is where we're at. Technology is furthering the advancement of the confusion and the delusion, right? As we accelerate out over our skis,
I'm not confused and deluded, though. I don't know what the issue
we're losing control. Anyway, so regardless, Dan, I'm sharing this because if you're interested in hearing more of the kind of madness that I'm spouting, you'll want to win my book, right? So some of the thinking that I'm here sharing is woven through the book. So let's now go to the ad for the book. And when we come back, we'd like to have your final thoughts, Alex, and have you pick some lucky soul who's going to actually be given this book.
What do divorce, kidnapping, ancient prophecies, and the collapse of the Soviet Union have in common with the music of the Beatles? These are all elements of author Wade Franson's traumatic autobiographical journey, recorded in his best-selling book, The People of the Sign. He effortlessly weaves these elements together, proving once and for all that truth really is far, far stranger than fiction. Order your copy now on Amazon or by emailing orders@soupllc.com.
We've also got the QR code going there. So if anybody doesn't think you're going to win it or ends up not winning it with a comment, you can go there and buy it right there. I realize now I've forgotten to share some of the other QR codes, so we'll run them all here at the end of the show as well. So Alex, I don't know if you've picked out a comment yet or if you have thoughts, but over to you.
Yep, I've picked out a comment, and that is the Jet 4231. I've selected you as our comment for the evening, and so you wrote that nuclear weapons have a particular role in the in the resolution of this global conflict. And so sure enough, we have selected you as our winner for this evening. You, as you can see from the chat this evening, are the selected individual in which you will receive our bonus. Wade, over to you to say that this individual is going to receive our prize. And from there, we are so happy for you, for Jet 423, for joining us this evening. And we hope that you join us next week at essentially 8:30 p.m. Eastern for joining us this evening. And we'll see you then.
And before we sign off, here is that QR code again for those who would like to contribute to the anthology that is actually being co-curated by Mr. Gilbert Hakim and our guest tonight, Alex Kolodner, on artificial morality. So you can use that QR code to scan it in. And this show will be posted under the same link that you used to get here tonight in its recording. So everyone that didn't get a chance to follow everything or needs to go back, get any of those QR codes, please just click on the link you used to get here this evening, and you'll get right back there on YouTube. So Alex, thank you so much. Any last words of wisdom, or Daniel, that you want to leave our guests with, or our audience with, before we close for the night?
I mean, I'm good. I think Alex is, I'm glad that we talked about this. I find the topic really interesting. So I'll just say thanks, Alex, for putting that presentation together. And what are your thoughts to sum things up?
Thank you, Daniel. And I'll just say that, the most important thing is the fact that all these topics that we've introduced this evening are universal. They are one among many individual religions that are available to us all. And so as we think about concepts that are religion specific, know that they are not really. they are universal to us all.
Thank you, Alex.
I appreciate it.
So tune in next week. We will have Mark Tinsley, a scholar with multiple degrees in science and religion, currently a legal study major at a Christian law school and a modern journalism student at New York University. He is also an Army chaplain, and he will be talking about the question, where are the men of courage today? This has been Created in the Image of God, episode 38 with Alex Kolodner. We're wishing you all a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you back again here next week.